Today we're going to talk about what is probably the most interesting or terrifying part of a team policy debate round, and that is cross-examination, often referred to as CX for short, or certainly in the notes. Now, after every constructive speech, there's going to be a cross-examination where the person who just gave a constructive speech will be subjected to a question period by one of the other team's speakers. In the case of what we just saw, where the first affirmative constructive was given by the first affirmative speaker, he will then be cross-examined by the second negative speaker. We'll get into the order of who talks when later, but today we're going to look at some examples of what cross-examination might look like, starting with one from the debate round we've already seen about lunch at Beaver County Christian School. Now, whenever you are giving a cross-examination, meaning you are asking questions of a speaker who has just given a speech, there's a couple of things you need to keep in mind. First, you never look the other debater in the eye, and this is very strange and feels very unnatural at first, but both speakers address everything they say forward to the judge. So it's actually never the case that they should look directly at each other or address each other directly as far as eye contact, although their questions will be directed to each other. The second is to make sure that you always know pretty much what the answer is going to be to any question you get. Now, that doesn't mean you can't ask like small clarifying questions, but you don't want to ask a question and not really know where the other team is going to go with it. That can open you up to trouble. The other temptation for new people who are newer at cross-examination, if you're the one asking the questions, is to try to turn into making arguments. So you might ask a question, and then you'll say, yeah, but doesn't that mean that blah, blah, blah? Now you just started making an argument. And that's only for speeches. Save that for your next speech. Finally, don't ask questions that are so open-ended that it gives your opponent an opportunity to basically make another speech in your cross-examination supporting their case. You don't want to give them extra time. Generally, what you want out of your cross-examination is to maybe ask a few clarifying questions, but mainly you want to get the other team to admit things that you can later use against them in one of your own speeches. So let's take a look at some examples of some of the do's and don'ts of good cross-examination. Hi, I'm the 2N. Yes, we mustn't forget, this is the second negative speaker. We saw the first negative speaker last time. This is the 2N. And of course, you will remember the 1A who gave that affirmative speech in our last video. Yep, that was me. I'm the 1A. Nice hat. Thanks. Not looking too bad yourself. May I have a copy of your 1AC, please? Sure. Here you go. Do you know what % of BCCS students eat lunch from Pizza Joe's or Sheetz? We don't have an exact number, but after lunch, the trash cans seem to be really full of Sheetz bags, and the pizza line's always really long. So you have not counted? No, but it's clearly a lot. Does pizza get served every day? No, but 2 days a week it is, and on a third day of the week, we have pizza rolls, which is basically just inside-out pizza. Pretty much the same thing. Thanks. Can you quickly explain how your advantages work? No, don't do it! Oh, too late. That was a terrible question to ask. Look what the affirmative speaker is going to do with this. Certainly. With an extra hour of sleep, the students will be well rested. This will enhance their digestive health, their cognitive health. I mean, imagine if students actually remembered and heard the things they were told in afternoon classes. This would be a game changer. It would have improvements for their lives, for their well-being. They'll probably grow up to be millionaires just because they had this extra hour of sleep in the afternoon. And thanks, that's all I need. Sure, no problem. And so it goes. Hopefully that was interesting for you to see, get a little bit of a feel for what a cross-examination might look like. There was good things and bad things about it. Remember, the participants always look straight forward. That's customary. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but it's also normal for teams to ask each other for copies of evidence or information. And it's typical that the first negative or the negative team will always ask for a copy of the 1AC in their first cross-examination, and it's proper and polite for the 1AC, the first affirmative speaker, to have a copy to give them. So negative teams always remember to ask, affirmative teams have a copy to give. Sometimes a judge at the end of the round will even ask to see copies of evidence, that sort of thing. So that's typical. All right, so before we're done, I thought it'd be fun for us to look a little bit back in time and see an example of a cross-examination from a debate round here at BCCS.
If you wish for a safer solution for transportation, fewer lives lost, and a healthier environment, you will vote for the affirmative ballot. Thank you. I'm now open for cross-examination.
May I please have a copy of the 1AC?
Yes, you may. Sorry, 1 second.
Here you go. Thank you. Judge ready? I'm ready. How much money would it cost to carry out your plan?
Well, we wouldn't. The mass transit is already here, so there would not be a lot of money.
Okay, so you're saying you don't need money to advance the technology?
No, we do, just not as much.
How much money?
I don't know the exact number.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any statistics on how much safer mass transit is in self-driving cars?
We
not
do.
Manually driven cars?
Yes, we do. I don't know exactly where they are, but we do have them.
Okay, thank you. What type of technology would you need to advance to make mass transit safe enough?
Well, it's already very safe right now, but we would be using a lot of the self-driving technology where it is.
So what type of technology would you use?
The self-driving technology.
So you want mass transit to become self-driving?
Well, we could use the technology and change it around a little bit if we need to, or there needs to be a lot of research going into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Aw, they did such a nice job back then. You guys will too. All right, are you guys ready to go way, way back in time? This next footage comes from about 2006, which is why it's so grainy. But you can still pretty much hear what's going on. Judges ready? And the timer? All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Now, I'm going to start out with sort of more of a philosophical question. Do you believe that doctors should be held liable for their actions in a court of law?
Yes.
Do you believe that lawyers should?
Not necessarily.
So you believe that doctors need to be held liable in
If they committed medical malpractice, they deserve to be punished for that.
But if a lawyer does something that's abusive, they should not be punished?
If they do something abusive, maybe they should probably be punished, yes.
And do you think that both doctors and lawyers then should be held accountable for their actions?
That's up to the state, each individual state to decide.
But you know, no matter who puts the law up, that the law, you know, state or federal, whatever it is, should hold both lawyers and doctors accountable.
It depends on the situation, yes.
All right. Moving on, you're talking about this states and federal. Do you know how the civil procedure in our courts of law are determined right now?
I believe so, yes.
And how would that be?
States can enact their own, each state has its own constitution. President can sign a bill that, if Congress passes it, that can be put into action.
Are you aware of the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure number 11, which governs the way courts handle cases?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Is it possible that some of these cases could involve parties from several different states?
No, I'm not aware of that.
But could you conceive it as a possibility?
Wouldn't have the slightest idea.
But you think it is feasible that there could possibly be a case big enough to involve?
I'm not going to answer your question if I don't know the answer for sure.
All right. If there were, do you believe that an interstate law, a law involving more than one state or an interstate case, would then fall in the jurisdiction of federal government?
I guess it all depends. If you're saying if it's like one, I don't think so, no.
Okay. You told us about an inherency point about New Hampshire and Georgia, who have recently passed laws. How recently has this been?
2005, they enacted one, and I think another as well. Yeah.
Have you given us any examples or evidence showing how these reforms have solved the harms that we've outlined?
No, I did not bring up any evidence, no.
So we don't know if these reforms have actually had an effect for the
No,
good.
what I was just saying is that states are enacting their own reforms to solve their own problems. the problems that you have presented are not necessarily a whole nationwide problem.
All right. And finally, you talked about our funding. Now, did we outline any special programs that would require salaries or anything like that?
No, I don't believe so.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Wow. Mr. Dinsmore without a beard. Well, everybody changes over time, right? So, think through some of the things that we've seen here and go ahead and do the assignment that's posted for you in Google Classroom. Have fun.